my god, you look like Elton John.
Now that Mac has caved and finally caught up with the rest of the internet to create his own little island oasis, is it all he hoped it would be and more? Or does he feel like he is lost on a deserted island with no way home?
We have to go back, Kate.
I'm Backrolls.
And I'm Mac Fraser, and welcome to the Nintendo Nerds, a series where we talk about art, design, and all things Nintendo.
So stick around, because if you yourself were on the fence about whether or not to play Animal Crossing New Horizons, hearing some of our opinions might just help sway you to pick it up and give it a try.
So this is a video that we've decided to do because I was, in our lead up to Animal Crossing and some of the other videos that we did, we talked about Animal Crossing and how soothing it looked and how we were both going to pick it up. And then the game came out and I wasn't so sure. It was a bit of a hard pill to swallow at that cost, not really knowing anything about it, even though I have to say, everybody that I've known through the years who has played these games has, nothing but glowing reviews to say. This is one of these games that's a system seller. Our friend Jenks bought his girlfriend bought a Switch specifically for this.
Yeah, this is the first one that I jumped on, and I am not really certain what compelled me this time more so than ones before, where I'd really decided about 6 months back, this is the one, I'm going to get into Animal Crossing this time. Maybe because I'd had enough experience dabbling in Pocket Camp just to know these characters are really adorable, and I think I want to explore this where it's not pay to play. So that's why I jumped in, but first off, why were you hesitant to play in the first place?
You know what? I don't know. I think for a lot of gamers, I've talked to a lot of people about this game who have said, the aesthetic is kind of a put off for them and it doesn't quite give them a good sense of what the game is about. And it comes across as maybe a little bit childish and kiddie. And I have to say, I think that was maybe one of my reservations at the beginning too. I generally don't like to think that, visuals have too much to do with my decisions about whether or not to buy a game. But it was one of these things of, I was having a hard time using the trailers that I saw to really kind of bring me into it. And again, never played these games before. And, we're going to talk about this a little bit further, down the line in this video here. But, these sim games, I have a love-hate relationship with them. I've never really spent a whole lot of time with a life sim specifically either.
Well, you really touched on the visuals being off-putting for a lot of people. I understand that's why a lot of people took so long to give it a try. I think myself included. I'm now a cranky adult, and now as our guest Robin once said, as I get older, I tend to like softer and squishier things. So now I'm less afraid. And now that I'm no longer in my 20s, I'm like, I don't want that cutesy stuff. Now I totally want that cutesy stuff. Give me all the cutesy stuff. Mm-hmm. But you also kind of touched on it. So you haven't played a ton of other sim games. So as I was trying to give you pep talks on this, I would say, well, what about The Sims? Did you like The Sims? And you go, well, I didn't really play that much of it.
You know what? It's one of those games of I think I played it at friends' houses and stuff, but I never really owned it. My biggest sim game was Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Ooh,
in all honesty,
what a great classic.
And the hours that I spent in that game, I couldn't even count. But as far as it goes with life sims, I really have not spent much time with them. I liked the Sim Cities and stuff too. I spent a decent amount of time with SimCity 2000, but these games, and like I said, my relationship with them is tumultuous because I get to this point where I'm like, God, I've done all this stuff and now I've learned how to do things properly or better than I was doing them. So let's just start all over. So I get into this habit of getting in, playing for 5 or 10 hours and then saying, no, I don't like it, and starting all over again. And I'm not going to lie to you, this has happened a couple of times with Animal Crossing already.
You're not alone in that sentiment. There have been whole articles written on Polygon. We actually was just reading the other day about how there are people who have anxiety from seeing all of these beautiful, accomplished islands online and now having a better sense of the mechanics. They're like, oh man, if I'd only just put my museum in the right place to begin with, then I wouldn't be having all of these troubles now. I definitely understand that frustration. But I think that's a lot of the social media fears. You know, we feel like we have to have these things done, and we have to have them done quickly so that they're ready for a 5-star island presentation on YouTube, and it has to be this big fancy theme. And I'm finding some power in not really watching the 5-star island tours just because I really like experiencing my friends' islands and getting inspiration from that, but I don't want to get overwhelmed by people who have A, imagination out the wazoo, or B, they are time traveling, and I just don't want to play my game that way.
See, and I'm with you there. It's one of the things that I found about this game from the get-go is that at the very beginning, when you're kind of first placing your first few buildings and choosing your island layout and all that stuff, I don't think that the game really tells you like how much extra work it's going to be to move these things if you want to move them. I also would have appreciated maybe perhaps an option to pan around the island a little bit when I was imagining where the buildings were going to go, just to kind of make sure everything was lining up correctly.
Well, that's very true, but we are getting a little ahead of ourselves just in terms of, like, now we're talking what Mac doesn't like about the game, but I think what we do want to touch on is what really convinced you to play. We had a couple of pep talks about it, and then also the rest of us kind of, I'm sorry, but we kind of abandoned you for a couple of weeks while we were all playing Animal Crossing.
Yes, but it was kind of my own fault though, because I was really so unsure about all of this, and even like through all those pep talks that we had about, you know, the things that I like about that I would like about this game, like the collectathons and trying to get all the fish, trying to get all the flowers and things like that. And I have to say at the same time, that was something that made me a bit hesitant about it too, because I was looking at this game as something very calming and soothing that I wanted to spend my time relaxing and playing at a leisurely pace. But sometimes when I get involved in the games that I play in, I fall in a little bit too hard and I just want to rush through things. And I think that, you know, for the first like 5 days of, you know, in-game, or I guess it would be actual time with Animal Crossing, they really do kind of throttle your progress. I think that it is their way of saying, look, you need to take this game as it comes sometimes. You can't expect things to be instant. And I struggled with that. And I again, good days and bad days. But most of the days are getting to be good now, because I really am starting to get a bit of a better idea of how this works. Again, I'm having to learn some of my lessons the hard way, but it is what it is.
Well, and as I warned you going into this, as someone who is a very experienced gamer, you were going to find those first couple of days very, very slow. And I even suggested to you, you may want to think about time traveling your way through it, and you decided that was not for you because you wanted to experience the game as they intended you to play it. We will also like to say, we have no judgment over people who want to play this game while time traveling. That's your game. You do as you please. And I also suggested it just as a way for you to possibly get through the beginning of the game. But I think you're touching on exactly what they're trying to drive home, that this game is going to sometimes take longer than you expect. And I also think that they're doing that so that so many people can learn this game at their own pace. I actually have 3 generations in my family playing this game, and I think that's just very impressive. I can't think of any other game in the entire roster that really, besides Mario Kart, that regularly has my mom and then my nieces and nephews playing.
And what a cool way for like all your generations of your family to spend time together, especially through everything that's been going on these last couple of months.
Everyone's talking about turnips. We're not talking about COVID. It's been nice.
Who has the best selling prices today? Where should I go? Who do I need to visit? Is your island open? Can I come there?
All of that talk is a really, really nice escape. And I'm sure as you're feeling, it is just kind of nice to be part of the pop culture canon, to be in on the turnip game.
I would agree, even though I'm not spending too much money on turnips just yet. But that's because I'm a little hard strapped for cash moving houses around.
So, less than a week in, you visited a couple of islands made from friends in our Discord family, and you mentioned to me that it was a bit of a double-edged sword, and I think that might be why you're out of bells right now.
Yes, I have to be honest. So for those of you who are thinking about picking up this game, if you have a crew of people that you regularly play video games with, or friends that play the same video games that you do, and you're looking forward to getting involved in Animal Crossing with them, there comes good and bad things of making the choice to go and visit islands. Like, for example, when I bought this game just a couple of weeks ago, and I think, within my first week, I had come to visit you, Back Rolls, and I had visited one other person in our Discord group, and it was really cool to see the kind of creativity that you had and the things that you came up with. But then I went back to my island and thought, well, now I have to redo everything. None of this looks any good. This is all crap. And this is why did I even do this? And then you think about restarting, but then I didn't want to do that because there is apparently a known issue where you have problems connecting with the friends that you connected with already in a previous save file, and it was just a whole big thing. But I wanted to say that it is a good idea to get some ideas, but you have to remember that sometimes when you're looking at these islands, other people have put in a significant amount more time than you. I maybe had 5 or 10 hours in, and when I visited you, you had over 200.
Exactly. There are so many things that ramp up quickly as well. So with that, there's so many things that you're going to unlock once the game decides for itself, and maybe not at the pace that more accomplished gamers would like, that you're ready for these kind of things. Once you unlock paths, terraforming, the possibilities of what you can do really blossoms.
And these are things that you don't quite understand as a new player because you don't know about things like terraforming, or with the exception of, maybe what your friends have told you. And, you would think that paths would come early, but unfortunately they don't come until a bit later, but it is what it is. You really have to find a way to approach Animal Crossing and think, like, I'm going to make my island my own. I'm going to go through the motions, and I'm going to, go through all of the little challenge that they kind of set up for you along the way. And that after all of that is done, that's when the island really opens up. And then that's when you're going to spend countless hours of, terraforming and changing your island and moving things around.
Exactly. It wants to make sure that you understand all of the mechanics it's asking of you. It's going to make you craft hard. It's going to make you go search for resources hard before you have even unlocked pathways. I think what that is doing is making sure that no matter what pace you play, you're going to understand all of the mechanics that it wants to throw at you.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit and say that, I kind of started off this conversation talking about, some of the things that I might want to be a little bit different, or some of the things that, I wish happened a little bit faster. And this is one of the challenges that I face as a new Animal Crossing player, like I had mentioned earlier, playing some of the other games that I play where you have a little bit more, control over how fast things happen, how much you want to do things, and how many hours you want to put in. Whereas, Animal Crossing kind of tells you to slow down a little bit. Like a couple weeks ago or a week ago, when I was quite upset with my island because I had visited some others and, really was not pleased with what I did, I had a moment where I thought, God, I wish these menus would just move faster. And then I realized this is not why I bought this game. This is not the reason I'm supposed to be playing Animal Crossing. I'm not supposed to be looking for ways to exploit this or ways to get through this faster. I'm supposed to be enjoying this island for everything that it has to offer. So I really did want to touch a little bit on too, like the positives that I've taken from this. As a new Animal Crossing player, like the game, in all honesty, is just delightful. I have to tell you that I brought my husband into the room numerous times to show him the new orchard that I've created. Or, today I told you that I had built a pet store and I was working on a restaurant. And the thing is, you have to realize with a game like this that these things aren't instant, and that sometimes when you approach Animal Crossing, you have to think, okay, so my plan for today includes these 3 things. If I get through them, great. If I don't, then I can get to them tomorrow. It's honestly, you really just have to realize that the game is going to happen at your own pace. If you want to just hammer hard on the resources, lay everything to the ground right away, you could probably move a little bit faster than I am, especially if you're going to do things like the time skipping. But if you really take the time to appreciate the game for what it's meant to be, in slowing you down and appreciating things and smelling the roses, then that's exactly what this game can be.
So I think with you feeling all of your island pressures, and with the way that you just phrased that, I think it's really clear you've definitely fallen for this game.
I would say that I definitely have. Again, had a couple days full of struggles in the early days, but I think that I have finally started to understand what this game is supposed to be. And, even though I said I was buying it to play something relaxing, I don't think that I quite knew exactly what that meant, and I'm getting a bit of a better idea of that now.
Well, Mac, I've sounded cheesy in private, but now I'm gonna sound cheesy in public. It doesn't matter whether it takes you a month or a year to reach the island of your dreams, because every choice you make is perfect and special because it's your island and you made it.
Oh, Backrolls, you are laying it on a little thick. But I have to say, honestly, I really am enjoying the game for what it is, especially being someone who has not played an Animal Crossing game before. With that being said, though, I'm still learning to keep myself level-headed when crafting and planning, because at times it can easily get away from you. There are good days where the island looks great, and others where changes need to happen, like, right away. This might sound excruciatingly slow for other people who play a lot of high-energy games like I do, or open-ended RPGs where you can grind as much as you please, but sometimes Animal Crossing just wants things to happen on its schedule.
But the advice I gave to Mac is this: don't let the tempo of the beginning of the game fool you. The learning curve is to make sure that gamers of all kinds can enjoy what Animal Crossing has to offer.
Thank you so much for watching. For more nerdy content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button.
As always, we hope you leave this video ready to pick up a Pro Controller, a paintbrush, or a pen. I'm Backrolls.
And I'm Mac Fraser, and this has been the Nintendo Nerds.